Number 9, Batman or Spider-Man?
You didn't do Superman?
Batman or Spider-Man?
Sensation Nation.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sensation Nation. When I started this podcast, I started my very first episode with my son, and we talked about music. Now that we're winding down with this season, this is the end of season 1, and I'm going to end it with my daughter. April is also the month of the military child. So I thought, what a perfect opportunity to bring my not so much of a child on to talk about her lifestyle of being a military child. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, my daughter, a military child, Deja Sims. Deja, welcome to the show.
Hello. It's very nice to be here for my first podcast ever. I'm excited and I hope I can bring a lot to the table being a military child.
Very first podcast ever, folks. You heard it right here, and it just happens to be her wonderful, handsome, and exciting father that she's going to be recording with today. So with that, month of the military child, let me ask you, what do you know about that? Do you know anything about the month of the military child?
Honestly, I didn't know anything about it until you called me and asked me to speak on the show about it. And then I was like, oh, okay. I knew there was a military spouse month, but I didn't know that there was even a military child month. So
Okay.
I'll be looking for my gifts.
Actually, this is your gift. I am presenting you with an opportunity to be on Sensation Nation. I see that you're wearing a sweatshirt. I can see that it says Carolina. What does it say at the bottom there?
It is my Carolina Air Force sweatshirt that I stole from my father when he worked at UNC, and I have a bunch of these sweatshirts. So I even have an Army one too. I
And
like them.
we've got it recorded that she used to steal my stuff. She's wearing the evidence. As she mentioned, I worked at UNC Chapel Hill teaching ROTC out there. She's wearing an Air Force sweatshirt. I am wearing a Marine Corps t-shirt, and that takes me perfectly to my next question. As a child, if you can remember enough to compare it, because you were really young during the Marine Corps time, which one did you enjoy the most? Your time as a military child in the United States Marine Corps or your time as a military child in the United States Air Force?
Um, like you said, I was very young, so I feel biased to say that I enjoyed my time as a military child, in the Air Force, but that's more of what I know. So I don't really recall a lot of the Marines at all. Like I knew we lived in North Carolina. I remember a couple of your friends. I do remember like it was good fellowship and things like that, but I can't really remember the specifics when it comes to growing up as a Marine. I mean, not as a Marine, growing up as a child of a Marine.
Gotcha. Maybe it's because during my Marine Corps time, I was probably gone a lot, traveling a lot, going to the field and deploying and doing all that other stuff. So, based on what you know, I'm going to put you on the spot. And just remember, people are going to be listening, people are going to be watching. So, you're going to have to tread very lightly. You can't remember much about the difference when you were a military child in those services, but you have grown up, you're smart enough to know that there's some type of comparative analysis and there's usually some kind of ribbon of each other. Which branch of service do you think that you like the most? The Air Force or the Marine Corps, and why?
I personally like the Air Force more. And I always tell people this when I have people that are like, oh, I'm going to go to the military. I'm like, well, why don't you try for the Air Force? And the reasoning for that is because I've seen how well they take care of their people. Like I felt like just the base in general, it was so much more for like kids. And like I said, I may just be biased again because I was so young with the Marines, but I felt like it was like youth centers. It was so much I can remember from going to school on base as an Air Force child. And I like the Air Force a little bit more. And it seemed like it was more inclusive for us. Like you had more events and things like that that like catered to like family.
Okay, good
So
answer. You might need to go into some politics. You kind of tread it lightly. Gave a little bit of good and bad about both, which brings me to a good question for you. As a military child, tell me some pros first of being a military child, and tell me some cons. And I want you to be open and honest because there's probably going to be some military children that are listening right now, some parents that may or may not show this to their kids, so on and so forth. So, the good, bad, the ugly. Tell me the pros. What were the good things about being a child of a military person?
So some of the pros would be that, well, the biggest pro of all is I got to travel. There's so many people that I know that did not get to like travel, and I got to see so many different like cultures, which has made me so open minded. Like that's one of the things like me and my fiance were just talking about was like he was like, you're just so open minded about everything. And I'm like, I feel like being exposed to that, to different areas, different people, it forces you to kind of be, more of like understanding and not so close minded. Another pro would be I used to feel like I used to be more open and like easy to make friends when I was growing up, but now I guess because I've been in the same area for the past like I don't know, maybe like 4 years now. So now I feel like I'm shy about it, but it used to make me a little bit more comfortable in rooms with just nobody that I knew. Like that's
Mm.
one of the pros. I mean, moving around, you have to like put yourself out there.
Hmm.
And
Well, let me pause.
another,
Let me pause you right there before you
okay,
go on to the next one because you bring about an interesting point, right? I would say that maybe something you may dive into a little bit when we start talking about cons, but kind of describe to me very briefly from what you can recall what it was like moving to a brand new state, a brand new city, a brand new school on that very first day, and having to try to fit in, make friends, so on and so forth.
so do you want me to like, do you want me to go more towards the pros or more towards the cons?
I
Because
tell you
with
what,
that, or just be
here here
unbiased with
here
that.
on Sim Station Nation, you go in the direction that your mind takes you. So you tell
Okay.
me.
So first day starting, it's okay when you are on a military base and you're going to a military school, it's a lot easier. Like you feel, I mean, nobody's looking at you like, oh my goodness, like who's this person? Nobody really had enough time to make their clicks there because I mean, half these people just been here for like a couple of months.
Hmm.
So going to a military school like on base definitely is a lot easier. So I felt like it was like people were more welcoming too. Like I can remember specifically when we went to school in North Dakota. I felt like that first day it was so many people that just were talking to me, and I already had like three friends by the end of the day.
Mm.
Now going to a school off base definitely really really difficult.
Sure, sure.
When we moved to North Carolina, going into high school, I went into high school as a sophomore. It was so weird being in a school where people went to elementary school together, middle school together. They've lived in these same houses since they were babies. So everybody knows their neighbors, you're going to school with them. It was definitely weird. I felt like an outcast. And I will say, in that aspect, and that was one of the cons I was going to speak on, is it makes you kind of, to a point, sometimes I felt like I lost myself to try
Mm.
to fit in with people
Mm.
because it was like, when you go to like a military base, everybody's just like, oh, this is a new person. Oh, we can all just be ourselves. But when you're going to a place where people are already established, it's like, I
Sure.
don't know where I fit in. And
Right,
especially
right.
with me being in high school, I felt like I didn't know where I fit in. So I just would try my best to get in wherever I could. So I
Mm,
will say that that's two different experiences that I can say that I've had. And it's not going to be the same for everybody because there's some
sure.
people that may move to a school and, you know, it may be more welcoming. But for me, it was just that community had most of those people have been, you know, they knew each other for so long. So it was hard for me to kind of, you know,
Sure.
fit in there.
Yep. No, I get it. Yeah, I can imagine that's probably very difficult trying to fit into a new place, new location. So tell me, what did you do to try to help cope and manage that?
Well, luckily for me, I had a sister that went to the same school as me.
Hmm.
So I always could kind of have her as my crutch because we were right there
Right.
together. But like I said, in high school, because actually the majority of my, no, I was going to say majority of my life, I went to school on base, but I would be lying because in Mississippi, we didn't either.
Mm.
But see, my mom was a principal at that school, so I still had a crutch. So it's like, I guess in high school, what I really did was I got into activities. So I was like in band, I started playing basketball. I also started kind of just, you know, trying to ease my way into talking to people. And for a long time, like I said, I was kind of lost. I was like, okay, I don't know how to be. So especially like just trying to fit in, like we went to a school where it was, you know, the minority was Black. So it wasn't a lot of, you know,
Hmm.
African American people there. So it wasn't a lot of people that I could relate to. So it was very difficult for me coming from a place like North Dakota where like the culture and everybody kind of like everybody's always like, oh, there's nothing up there, but it's so much up there. Actually, they have like African culture, they have Indian, there's all kinds of different things. So it was like you felt like at home. It was different, and I feel like how I tried to cope with it was just getting into activities. You know, just like I said, for a while I was just kind of floating and just using my sister and just
Yeah.
kind of, you know,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
what I could do. But I mean,
I like how
you, I mean,
I like how
yeah,
this is going. I like this is going because you kind of intertwine the pros and the cons together, and they don't necessarily have to be separated per se. So I think just depending on the day, depending on the new location, depending on the city, the new school, I think there's a good mix of pros and cons. So anything else that you want to kind of highlight from a pros and cons perspective for being a military child?
well, I will say, um, like like I know I kind of spoke. I feel like I kind of spoke negatively when it came to like not going to schools on base.
Hmm.
But what I will say is the education that I got, like from the school that I went to, it definitely challenged me. Um, I felt like the school, and this is just my personal experience, the school I went to on base because
Hmm.
everybody knew everybody, or they were wives of people that were like in the military. With you, it was like I felt like they were a little bit more like laid back when it came to work. But when you go to a school and nobody knows anybody and nobody's
Sure.
not in the military with your dad, it's like, no, you got to get this and this and this done. So I will say that was one of the pros for me is that I definitely was challenged, like, and it did help me. It did help me as far as it went with like education.
Gotcha, gotcha. So since you've been talking, I just kind of been picking up on it. You have mentioned to the audience a couple of places. You mentioned North Carolina at one point. You mentioned Mississippi. You mentioned North Dakota. So in sequential order that you can remember, do you remember what states you have lived in? Starting, I'm gonna help you out. Starting during the Marine time, our first time in North Carolina, and going from there.
Okay. First time in North Carolina to Illinois to Mississippi to North Dakota to North Carolina.
Okay, I think you got it. I think you got it. Just a small thing in between, of course. Started her time as a military child in North Carolina, being stationed at Camp Lejeune. We moved back home to Georgia for a very short period of time.
Oh,
Then we went to Illinois, and you got that one right. From Illinois, we went down to Mississippi, from Mississippi all the way up to North Dakota, from North Dakota back to North Carolina again, and then you
Okay.
had a very, very short stint before you went off to go do grown woman things in Florida for a little while there too as well. So that's a pretty broad experience. So having named all of those, what would you describe as your most favorite of all of those locations?
Well, my favorite, and everybody always is so shocked, but my favorite state of all was North Dakota.
Why?
It was my favorite state because of the fact that I felt like we spent the most family time in North Dakota. Like, I got to do stuff I've never gotten to do before, skiing, actually like seeing real snow, like not the little play stuff we get here in Georgia, like the real snow. Just actually having a reason to drink hot cocoa and just sit around like the fire. I love North Dakota. And then the people were just so nice. Like, I can remember so many times my mama just going into Walmart, leaving the car running,
Oh yeah.
and the car was still there. I can remember like her like trying different, recipes from people that she found, around. I just remember so much from North Dakota. That's like one of my favorite states. And I love I always tell everybody, I'm like, always go just to see the land, just to see the nature. It's so beautiful up there.
That's awesome. I figured you were going to say that, and you're right. Most people will be surprised when they hear you say that. I tell people that was one of my most favorite places to live as well, and most of them were surprised when I say that as well. Tons of snow, but once you get past the snow, everything's quite all right. I want to also take this opportunity here live during the recording, but live for the people listening to the podcast. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for your many sacrifices. A lot of times, the military members are the ones that get thanked publicly, privately. Thank you for your service. The whole nine. But most times, people don't see the sacrifices that the kids, the children, the spouses, of course, have to make in order for that military member to be able to do what he or she does. So I personally want to say thank you. I know that moving around cannot always be easy. Having to make new friends cannot always be easy, and just being uprooted. So I want to first thank you. I want to thank all of the military children, military kids that are out there listening or watching. Thank you for the sacrifices you have made. Thank you for the sacrifices you are making right now. And undoubtedly, thank you for the sacrifices you are going to make in the future. Everything that you all do, all the things that you all give up, all the things that you have to adjust to, all the resiliency that you exhibit every single day, trust me, it does not go unnoticed, and it is for a greater cause and a greater good. And so I want to say thank you all for your service during the month of Military Child Appreciation. So with that, Deja, I want to ask you, or provide you an opportunity, for all the children, all the kids, small, medium, or large, that are out there listening. What advice would you offer to those children that are about to be children of military members, currently are serving as children of military members? What advice would you offer to that audience?
I would tell them, one, to take it all in, take everything in. I know it's going to be uncomfortable at times, and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't have to leave such and such, and I just built this great friendship. But one of the reasons, like I said, I love North Dakota is because we took it all in. So take it all in. A lot of times when you become an adult, it costs so much money to try to travel to those places. You have, first of all, no idea. Like, I mean, if someone wants to tell me, let's go to North Dakota right now, I wouldn't have any idea what to do there. So take it all in, enjoy the experience. Something else I would give them advice on is use this time to learn how to build great friendships. There are people I still talk to till this day. And like I said, like my fiance, he's like, how do you know this person there? How do you know this person? And I'm like, I know somebody for everything now. You need this, you need this. I know somebody for everything. So take it in to make really good friendships. Like everybody always, says, oh, it's not going to matter. I'm not going to see this person again. You never know, especially now with us having the blessing of social media, you never know. That person one day, I mean, just when we were walking across the street in Washington, D.C., I was like, how do you know this person? That, oh, I knew him from Florida. I was like, okay, that's so weird. And D.C. at the same time,
on
but
the
take it
street.
on the street. So that's why I'm like, just, you never know who you may cross paths again with, like make great friendships and just take in this experience. I feel like I'm appreciative for you thanking me, but honestly, I should thank you because of the fact that now being an adult in Georgia, there's so many people I know that have not been out of the state. There's so many people I know that just have one idea on what it is like when it comes to their vision of life. And so honestly, like use this time to like broaden out your mindset and just try to like take it all in. That's the main thing I can just keep saying because I'm so blessed to be able to have experienced all those things, not just travel to those places, but to be able to actually live there. Like it's really a blessing.
No, that's really good advice, and I appreciate your perspective on that. And now I'm going to offer you an opportunity to do something similar, but to a different audience that might be listening in a different way. From the military child perspective, what advice would you offer to the parents of the children that are currently serving in a household with military members?
The advice I would give to the parents is, I guess, just one, I always tell people to follow their passion. I know, like even with my dad, I know there's times when he probably felt like, wow, I hate that my family can't be around their, family members and things like that. But with him following his passion, eventually I learned to take out myself and make it about, wow, I'm getting to experience this. So it may be times when it may be discouraging when you look at your child and you're like, wow, I hate to see them like in the house, just sad, just lonely. But give it time because I promise you the time it will grow. And especially when they become adults, they'll look back at you and they'll be like, wow, thank you. Like all that kicking and screaming and being upset because they couldn't be in that same friend group. Like, honestly, just be patient with them. Also understand where they're coming from. They don't necessarily just step right into, oh, these are my coworkers. Like I feel like with, military spouse, with the military members, like, oh, you step into, oh, these are my coworkers. This is where I'm going to be at. They don't necessarily always step into those things. So of course, just be patient, but take that time to, get them into activities. Like I said, my parents, they put us in a lot of different activities, band, orchestra, a lot of different things that kind of forced us to get out there and talk to people. But the biggest advice for military members is, of course, there's disadvantages when it comes to being stationed to new areas and things like that. But I promise you, your kids will thank you later, especially with how expensive everything is right now with flights and stuff. They'll thank you later when they can do all this for free.
That's really good. I love acronyms, and I literally just made up one while you were talking, and I was taking it all in and just listening to you talk. And I was about to say, hey, great job on giving everyone a pep talk. And I thought PEP, right? And all of that background that you just talked about, you talked about all the different people that you've met, all the experiences that you got, and all the places that you've been. So the PEP and the pep talk to the military children that are out there, I think that's amazing. It is something that really kind of made you, from what I hear, into the person that you are today, and all of those little bit of people, experiences, and places that kind of poured into you that made you who and where you are today. So with that, I'm going to change gears just a little bit with who you are today. And to my understanding, you are a business owner, right? So you want to talk to the people about your business.
Yes, I am a business owner. I just completed my first year in business November 25th. So I am a cosmetologist. I do focus on skincare, waxing, facials, and kind of how I got into it was just I didn't really see a lot of products that were for girls that looked like me. And it was a lot of things that were being tried that weren't for us. And so I kind of like, I fell in love with it. I was like, wow, like I really enjoy helping people with their insecurities, a lot of things that we didn't really know or didn't have a market for. So that's a little bit about my business. It's located in Augusta, Georgia, Essential Beauty Spa.
Okay. How can people find it? Or do you have websites? Do you have any social media platforms if people want to go look up your business and kind of see the work you've done?
So I do have a website. It's off of Style Seat, and you just have to search Essential Beauty Spa. So it's off of Style Seat. As far as it goes with social media, I don't have specific social media just for my business. But if you're on if you go to my name, Deja Sims, you'll see all of my business stuff in my contact.
Okay.
I mean, in my bio.
Okay. And what platform is that?
That's on Facebook. So you can look up Deja Sims on Facebook and you'll be able to see my website on there. It has my logo as the wallpaper, or is it called the header? The header.
Sure.
It's called the header. And then you'll be able to see the rest of my posts or specials. So if you follow me on Facebook, that'll give you every time I run a special, every time I post my business, it'll be right there on my direct account.
Perfect. And that's one M, no two M's in the last name,
yes,
people.
One M.
She's gonna hold on to that last name at least for a little while longer until she gets married and does whatever. All right. So that brings us to the round that I am excited about, and it is the quick and easy, fast round of what do you prefer? I want to know. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
I got 10 questions for you. I'm going to give you 2 options each question. You just tell me what your answer is, first thing that comes to mind. When it comes to grits, do you prefer to eat them with sugar or salt?
Can I do both? I'm going to do both.
You do sugar and salt at the same time?
No. Like I can do either, or I just had sugar in my grits and I was like, wow, that actually is not too bad.
So which one do you prefer? That's the question.
I'll do salt.
Okay. All right.
I'll do salt.
Football or basketball?
Basketball.
Would you rather read a book or watch a movie?
Watch a movie.
Would you rather lift weights or take a run?
Neither.
What would you do?
I'd rather do yoga or something, or Zumba, something fun.
All right. Next question. Question number 6. Actually, question number 5. Whiskey or beer?
Okay. Neither. Definitely neither. We're going to put a little asterisk at the bottom for wine.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Mm-mm.
All right. Number 6. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Number 7.
I'll do iPhone.
Number 7. Beach or mountains?
Mountains. Mountains. Damn, that's hard.
Number 8. Jeans or dress?
Dress.
Number 9. Batman or Spider-Man?
You didn't do Superman?
Batman or Spider-Man?
Okay, yes, Spider-Man. I would have did Superman, but Spider-Man.
And last but not least, jazz or blues?
Blues.
Blues.
Yeah, I do blues.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, I first of all want to thank you for taking some time to spend a few moments here on Sensation Nation and really to kind of give some advice and offer some advice to the military children out there in honor of Military Child Month. So again, thank you, Deja, for coming on. We really enjoyed it. Hopefully this was a good experience for you. Until next time, everybody, I'm out.